Hey everyone, welcome back. And if you're new, welcome. My name is Adelina, and on this channel we talk about simple, intentional living. As you can see behind me, today I am at the beach. And I am enjoying this sunny, beautiful day. It's still a little cool, which is awesome. I think it's like 18 degrees Celsius, which is the perfect temperature for sitting here and talking to the camera. So today I want to talk about the 5 things that I no longer do now that I am almost 60. Certainly there are a lot more things that we probably should stop doing than just 5, but these are the 5 that came to mind the fastest, the 5 that I think have made the biggest difference in my life and are making the biggest difference in my life. So I thought I'd just go over those 5 things with you today. So the first thing that I stopped doing, and it is something that I stopped doing about 25 years ago, and it's made a huge difference in my life, and it is a piece of advice that I have given my kids and other people, young people in particular, because I think it's something that is much more common when we're younger. First thing I stopped doing was worrying what other people thought of me and how I lived my life, what I was doing and how I lived my life. I spent far too much time worrying about other people's opinions, be those people family, friends, co-workers, strangers out in the world. As I was living my life, doing things, I would be in the back of my mind always, uber aware, imagining, really it was in my head, that other people were judging me for those things and wondering about what they were thinking about those things. And because I did that, I stayed in the safe zone. I went with conventional wisdom. I did what everybody else was doing because everybody else, the majority of people around me, were in that safe zone of doing the same things, the same sort of things as everybody else. And because of that, I rarely stepped out of that safe zone. I never felt comfortable doing my own thing, going my own way, and I missed so many opportunities. I didn't do so many things that I wanted to do so much earlier on because I was always so worried about what other people were thinking about me and what I was doing. And here's the truth. Nobody is thinking about you. Out in public, people aren't thinking about you. They're not thinking about what you're doing. They're not judging what you're doing. Almost always. They're not thinking about you because they're too focused, they're too preoccupied with worrying about what you think about them and what they're doing. And there's the irony of everything. We spend so much time worrying about what other people think about us, and the truth is, other people aren't thinking about us. They're thinking about themselves and worrying about what we think of them. I mean, how self-centered was I, thinking that everybody was thinking about me? And I wasn't trying to be self-centered. It was just, again, the world we live in. But the truth is, people aren't thinking about you in general. The people are too focused on themselves and their worlds and often worried about what other people, including you, are thinking about them. So the result for me of stopping that habit is that I started to do the things I wanted to do, take the chances, explore different things, opportunities, and living my life the way I wanted to live. And that brought incredible freedom and experiences and opportunities that led me to where I am right now. Number 2, the second thing I no longer do. I no longer have the mindset that if I can't do something perfectly, then somehow I have failed. Now, I'm a recovering perfectionist. I used to turn myself inside out to try and be perfect at everything that I did. And all that did was make me unhappy, make me feel like a failure, like I was falling short far too often. Because the reality is, you can't be perfect at everything. There's very few things in life. I would venture to say there's nothing in life that you can be perfect at. We can be pretty darn good at some things, and there's a few things that I'm pretty darn good at. But in general, I know that I suck at a lot of things. But because I used to have that belief, it stopped me from trying those things. It was only when I realized, and intellectually I knew, but like really realized and embraced the fact that I wasn't going to be perfect at pretty much everything. But that did not mean that it wasn't worth trying. The goal was the experience, learning, trying, failing, and even if I wasn't perfect at it, even if I wasn't great at it, even if I was just sort of mediocre at it, there was still value in doing it. I either succeed or I learn. And that is the point. So Dave Whipple, who's got a channel, Bush Radical, a lot of you guys probably know who that is. He's got a saying. His saying is that failure is never fatal unless you quit. And that's really such a great mindset, because trying is the point. Learning is the point. Failing and then learning from those failures is the point. Perfection is not the point, because if we were perfect at everything, nothing would be any fun. There's so much fun in the striving and the learning. So that is number two. The second thing that I no longer do is, stopping myself from doing things if I can't be perfect at them. Number three, I no longer allow toxic people in my life. I no longer allow people in my life and in my inner circle that don't support me, that don't accept me, that don't bring something into the relationship, aren't equal in those relationships, and that aren't my friends and don't actually care about me. Because the people that I have in my life that are in my inner circle are people that I love and care for and support. I get it. Sometimes you have no choice. Almost all of us have family members who are toxic, narcissists, or drama queens, or just people who don't have our best interests at heart. And we don't necessarily have the option to cut them out entirely. Certainly, a lot of us have coworkers, maybe even bosses, employers who are toxic, who don't treat us well, who are not on our side, and who don't care about us. And we can't necessarily cut those people out. But here's what we can do. We can decide how much access we're going to give those people to us. We can remove ourselves from those situations or conversations as much as possible, and not engaging in any of the negative, which is an excellent strategy. We can also limit the time we spend with people. And it's hard because those people are really good at manipulating us, and especially making us feel guilty. But here's the thing. This is your life, and it's your energy that they're sapping, because they're really energy vampires, and they get energy from breaking other people down, sometimes very subtly if they're narcissists. And we don't have to give them that energy. It's okay to say, no, I'm not available. I have other obligations. I won't be able to attend. I won't be coming. And here's the thing. Their reaction is not your responsibility. Them being mad at you, not your responsibility. Them putting the guilt trip on you, not your responsibility. Them talking to other people and, making you look like the bad guy, not your responsibility. Those are all forms of manipulation that toxic people are experts at using. to get their way, that's a hard concept for those of us who are people pleasers, recovering people pleasers. But it is a very important concept to learn. I wish I had learned it so many years earlier than I did, because once I did that, I just felt so free. I could say no to those people. I could limit my exposure to those people if I couldn't cut them out altogether, and that their reactions were not my fault, responsibility to fix, and not something that I needed to focus any time on. Amazing how freeing that is. Some of you guys are going to laugh at this one. But number 4 of the things I no longer do, I no longer dress or act my age. Because here's the thing. What does that even mean? That is, again, society's expectations that are put on us, and especially for us women. It does happen for men as well, but especially for us women. We are told that after a certain age, we need to behave in a certain way. We need to dress in a certain way. No. Why? The thing is, you are as old as you feel. You are as old as you think. Oh, I'm just watching an eagle fly by. Sorry, squirrel, actually, in this case, eagle. Society's expectations of us don't have to be our expectations of us. If something makes you happy and it is not hurting somebody else, yourself, breaking a law, it doesn't matter. You should be able to, and you should fully embrace and enjoy the things you want to do and the things you want to wear and how you want to behave. And nobody else has the right to tell you what is appropriate for your age and what isn't. I no longer wear clothes that are uncomfortable. I no longer agonize over whether something I'm wearing is appropriate or how I look is appropriate or what I'm doing is appropriate for my age. If I am comfortable and if it makes me feel good, then it's the right thing for me at this age or any age. And that is incredibly freeing and incredibly comfortable, because age is a mindset. It's not a chronological, is that the right way to say it, number. There is no guidebook that's written on a tablet somewhere that says, at this age, you must do this. You must cut your hair or whatever. That is up to you. A lot of you have noticed that I have stopped coloring my hair. And, you know, I didn't know if I would, but I always in my mind kind of thought that as I approached 60, I would probably stop. I reserve the right to change my mind at any time. And I don't care what other people think. I have had people tell me in the comments and otherwise that gray hair ages me, that gray hair ages people in general. That's one of those other points. That is somebody else's opinion that has nothing to do with me. That is everything to do with them. If I'm not hurting myself, somebody else, or breaking the law, then everything is exactly as it should be. So, number 4, I no longer dress or act my age. And number 5 of things that I no longer do, and this one is a big one. I no longer sweat the small stuff. There was this series of books that came out, ages ago, 25, 30 years ago. I don't even know how long ago. You used to see them in the bookstores. They were kind of like coffee table books or whatever. And they were the Don't Sweat the Small Stuff, or I think that's what they were called. Anyways, I read one time. And the title was Don't Sweat the Small Stuff, and in small letters or brackets it said, and it's all small stuff. That is so spot on. Here's the thing. In my life, there have been very few things that are a true big deal. There are a lot of things that are important in life. Responsibilities that we have, deadlines that we have to meet for work or family obligations, things that are important. But there are very, very, very few things in our lives that are critically important. Big stuff. The majority of the things that in our world, the things that happen, are small stuff. And we spend far too long, I spent far too long sweating the small stuff. What do I mean by that? If something happens and a month from now, 6 months from now, a year from now, we wouldn't still be upset about it, then it wasn't a big deal. It wasn't big stuff. If a month from now, 6 months from now, a year from now, we would be laughing about it and telling the story and laughing about it, then it really wasn't big stuff. So even as things are happening, you know, like when Keaton and Christy were here last summer and Keaton lost his keys in the ocean, his car key in the ocean. It was an annoyance, right? Like he was very upset about it because he only had the one key here. And his other key was back in Calgary. And it was the day before a long weekend, so a statutory holiday. And even to get a locksmith out, it was going to be very expensive. And even during that time, I was thinking and I was telling him, listen, this is not a big deal. It's important to get this sorted out. And it's an annoyance. And I know you're embarrassed about it because, you know, but it's not a big deal. And this is going to make a great story. And it does, because the next day we bought a metal detector and he and Christy came back to the ocean to try and find it once the tide was out. And he didn't even need it. He walked out from where we had been sitting a few yards, I don't know, maybe a dozen yards, turned around, looked down and saw the glint of the key ring and found his keys without even having to use the metal detector. Does this make a great story? Absolutely. Even if he hadn't found the key, we would have got the other key shipped. He would have gotten home. Everything would have been fine. And 6 months from now, from then, a year from then, today, we would be laughing and telling that story, and it wouldn't have been a big deal. And that's just one example of so many things. Missing a flight, missing a ferry, deadlines. They're important. But in the grand scheme of things, they're not big deals. They're not big stuff. What are big stuff? An accident, somebody getting hurt, you know, abuse. Those are big things. Those are the things we should be sweating, and we need to stop sweating the small stuff because it's almost all small stuff. Well, guys, those are my 5. Sorry, that's 10. Those are my 5 of the top things that I no longer do now that I am approaching 60. And many of those I stopped doing in my probably mid-40s. They were not improving my life. I would love to know if any of those resonated with you, if any of those are things you no longer do, if you have other things that you no longer do that have improved your life dramatically. I would love to know what those are as well. So there was a blue heron back there that was feeding. I tried to take some video of them, but this iPhone just does not do zoom as well as I would like. But it is a beautiful day. And it's not too hot. So I'm going to just sit here, journal a bit, enjoy this breeze and this beautiful day. I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you're staying safe. Remember, in a world where you can be anything, be kind, including to yourself. I love you, and I will see you next time.